good vibe, we shine on the light. Welcome to Chatnite, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, Chatnite Africa. We all over the world, Chatnite Africa. Welcome to Chatnite, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. Welcome to Chatnite, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, Chatnite Africa. We all over the world, Chatnite Africa. Welcome to Chatnite, the only place that we give you good vibes. Chatnite Africa. Welcome to Chatnite, all over the world we are shining the light. Chatnite Africa. Welcome to Chatnite, Chatnite Africa. Welcome to Chatnite.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Voices of Africa on Chatnite. My name is Divine Nchamukong, and I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Few people watching this broadcast are unaware that there is a war in Anglophone Cameroon, an armed insurgency since 2017. Now, what no one knows is where all this is going, what the end game is. The government of Cameroon appears to be dogged in the logic of outright victory, military victory, I mean. On the other side, the fragmented separatist groups are engaged in what looks like a cyclical firing range. Former friends, now bitter enemies. In the middle of this confusion is mounting casualties. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why I decided to bring one of the key players in this war in Anglophone Cameroon, Mr. Capo Daniel. Ladies and gentlemen, join me now in welcoming him on the platform.
Thank you, Mr. Divine Nchamukong, for having me on this platform as your guest today. I deeply honored for the invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Capo Daniel. I should be the one to say thank you for accepting to be here. I invited another Amba leader. I invited another Ambazonia leader to be. I invited another Ambazonia leader to be on this platform with you to debate you. He accepted, and at the last minute, he declined to show up, that he wouldn't show up to talk on the same platform with you. Anyway, we will continue with or without any person who accepts to come and then later on declines to show up. Thank you again for accepting to, for honoring my invitation. Usually my questions are not very friendly. And I like to clarify this, that we do not invite people on this platform on account of how much we hate or like them. We invite guests based on the impact what they do or don't do have on ground zero. It's on this reasoning, on this core, that we have Mr. Capo Daniel taking my questions today. Mr. Capo Daniel, let's jump into it. You have consistently said you trained a lot of the fighting people, the fighters on ground zero. Many years have now passed. Are you winning the war or you are losing it?
Yeah. First of all, Mr. Nchamukong, I would like since it's a public issue and your invitation to my person was made public, so I think the Ambazonian people who watch you and the people of Cameroon as a whole would like to hear maybe a reaction from me from your introduction. Yes, you did publicize the invitation to me and Christopher Anu as well, and he did turn the invitation down at the last minute. And I think that is testament of how dysfunctioning the Ambazonian Liberation War has become. Christopher Anu claimed that by having a debate with me, somehow it, I don't know what is going on in his mind. But this is somebody who had interviewed Issa Chiruma. He was basically introduced to the Ambazonian public by Issa Chiruma. He has talked with John Fundi. He recently made a request from Eric Chinje, that he wants to have direct negotiation with the government of Cameroon. These are public information that we all know of. And the reason why Ambazonian leaders do not debate each other is because they are afraid to be seen as people who don't have any tangible solution to our problems. So people like that are always running away from debate. We always stand open to debate any Ambazonian leader, as we have been working in this struggle for the past 8 years to represent the best interests of our people. And those who work for the public interest should fear no debate. We are very transparent. Me and my team in the People's Right Advocacy platform, we are ready to debate anybody, anywhere to advance the cause of our people.
So, are you losing the war or you are winning?
We have won this war in terms of the initial trigger of this war. As you know very well, this war was declared in an airport by the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya. In his own imagination, he was supposed to defeat our resistance within a couple of weeks. He promised to arrest all of us who have championed this struggle as Ambazonian from the diaspora. He promised to bring us back in chains. Somehow he managed to pick up Seseko Ayoktabi, who is now in prison. That actions was declared by panels in the United Nations and the High Court in Abuja as illegal actions. So the Cameroon is a rogue state that do not respect international law. Even in that its dark hole of illegality, they have been unable to defeat us completely for the past 8 years, and the resistance still continue. And
Mr.
we are winning.
Yes,
we are winning
Mr.
for the
Kabodela,
logic.
you say you are winning. How can you, with a straight face, say you're winning? When you train people to fight, the ultimate goal was to go to Boya and hoist your flag on the Prime Minister's lodge. You are kilometers, thousands of kilometers away. How can you say you're winning? Come on.
No, I agree with you on that basis, on the basis of the goal that we have set for ourselves as this struggle started. But do not forget that this war was triggered in 2016. The struggle for our people for self-determination have been existing for the past 60 years. But this particular war was triggered in 2016. And we were acting in invocation of our right of self-defense. So we were defending ourselves. Of course, we set ourselves certain goals as a result of anger and bitterness from the treatment we were having for the Cameroon government. We should make no mistake, the initial grievances of our people collectively that were represented by the leaders of the civil society were to ameliorate the difficulties we were facing as minority people, the English-speaking people. Our court system were being francophonized, we were being marginalized, we had no real say in the management of a dictatorship, and that forced our people to come together to present their cases. When that consortium was banned, the consortium of the civil society was banned, the Cameroon government launched a brutal war against our people who were resisting. And the whole concept, why I say we have won, is because the stance of Cameroon initially was similar to what Russia is claiming in Ukraine, that Southern Cameroon was a historic part of Cameroon that was lost to Nigeria. And this rhetoric have been repeated right from the days of Amadou Ahidjo. They claim that we are some part of their territory that was lost to Nigeria, and they mourn that the northern part of the British Cameroon that joined Nigeria was indeed part of Cameroon. And from the beginning, we said that no, the Southern Cameroon is an international entity with internationally recognized border, and we have the right of self-determination. And at the end of the day, through the Grand National Dialogue, the Cameroon government have conceded to say that we have a uniqueness in our historic background from being people of the British Cameroon. And for us, that is the biggest victory we have. So the problem is that our cause for self-determination have been radicalized by the actions of the Cameroon government. Moderate like Seseko Ayoktabi, when he was taken away from the scene, we have radicals like Sako, we have Ayabacho, who have come into the scene to dominate the struggle and carry us from a struggle that was focused on the people to a struggle that has been focused on the savagery of war. So the goal for independence of Ambazonia is a long-term goal. It is the aspiration of our people that have been.
Yeah, but the question I'm asking you, Mr. Capo, I do understand. I do understand you're not going to outrightly say you're losing, because when you started this war, you were training people to fight the central government my business here is not whether it was wrong or right. This is an independent platform. But the goal was to go to Boya. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. In that case, we will say,
yes.
We will say that, of course, our military goal that we set for ourselves is not attainable. And that is as a result of both our internal dynamic and the enemy we face. And that is not to say that we have been defeated, because the resistance continues. Our goal for military liberation, of course, is no longer attainable. I think even Ukraine sometimes
we'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that at least we set the right premise, that nobody has won or nobody's winning. I mean, government forces have not completely eliminated your fighters, and you've not. You cannot say that you've won. You've beaten government forces on the floor, on the ground. The impression I get when I listen to you, Mr. Capo Daniel, is that you would like to see the armed insurgency end and not drag on. You are not in Boya yet. What were you thinking when you thought that people should carry arms and fight the government? Why did you think that was the way to go?
As they say, as John Frundi said a while ago in the 90s, if you push pussy reach for riverside where you know sabi for swim, it go fight back. When a government is oppressive, denies the basic human right of a people of assembly, the right of political association, the people are forced to fight. So our fight against the Cameroon government is not a matter of choice. We got into this fight because the Cameroon government dismisses our identity as Anglophones, rejects the notion that we came into this union out of self-determination, and we had to fight for our identity. So we have been putting up resistance, not on the basis of whether we can win or not. We were just forced not to accept slavery, to accept genocide on our identity. That is why we are fighting. We are not fighting because we were so much entangled in some ideological perception of independence, but it was more of saying that there is no way we as a people that came into this union on the basis of equal partners find ourselves, our rights being banned. The Minister of Territorial Administration in Cameroon banned our ability to come together as a people, even to present our grievances. Our lawyers were being tortured, our schools and our courts were being francophonized, and we had to react with our basic human instinct to defend our honor and our dignity. So that is the trigger of this war, and I don't want your audience to misconceive that we woke up one day to fight the government of Cameroon for independence. We were pushed to this war by the reaction of Cameroon.
I get argument. I mean, consistently, you guys have said that Yaoundé, that a war was declared on you, and so you had to fight back. Now, Yaoundé has argued that you started, and then you were Ayabacho's assistant defense secretary, if I'm not making a mistake. Yaoundé has argued that you killed men and people in uniform, soldiers, and so they definitely had the right to use force. Why is that argument from Yaoundé wrong?
That argument is just an excuse. There have always been a radical element to Southern Cameroon nationalism right from the day one. Since when we were in Onugu as part of Nigeria, carrying the Nigerian flag for 41 years, there have always been an element in our society that want absolute independence. And that was expressed by when our funds gathered in Manfé, in the Manfé conference, to appeal to the British government when we were still a British territory, trust territory, that we want independence. So there have been people who have consistently fight for absolute independence, but their voices have always been the minute, minimal minority within our communities, that the majority, they had no effect. Ayabacho and the president of the LCYL, Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga, had started armed resistance in the 90s after the Cameroon government refused to concede power, to transfer power peacefully to John Frundi when he won the election simply because he's an Anglophone. But those war for independence did not catch fire amongst our youth. the Declaration of Independence that was declared in the radio station of Boya were not embraced by our people. The difference now is that we have suffered so much marginalization in the hands of Cameroon that when the Cameroon government decided to ban the consortium, when it was negotiating with the same civil society people on the table, our generation, the millennia, we say we have no way to go other than embrace the ideology of radicalism. We were forced to train boys to pick up arms because our villages were constantly burnt. The actions of the ADF of Ayabacho to kill some Cameroon military personnel were not actually action taken by Ayabacho. These were those actions, he was just claiming those actions, but those were reaction from very angry youths who were justified in self-defense because the Cameroon government deploying gendarmes, burning villages, killing women, raping women. Honorable Weber testified to some of those atrocities in the parliament of Cameroon. His daughter, his relatives were raped, people were being killed, and our boys acted in self-defense. If we were considered as part of Cameroon, let me just finish. If we were indeed considered as part of Cameroon, as equal people of Cameroon, the president of Cameroon would not have declared war, but rather he could have reversed the ban of our assembly, of the ban of the consortium, released our prisoner Abobala in time so that the radicalization process would stop and call for dialogue. But he waited for years for people to die, people to pick up arms, get into a no-reverse situation that we have found ourselves where we are today.
Let us take that. I mean, let's go by your logic that you rose up in self-defense. Assume that you're a farmer and a tiger comes and is eating your goats. Are you going to go after that tiger with empty hands, with bare hands? That's committing suicide, and that's been the argument made by some people. Mr. Capo Daniel, you are fighting. You chose to fight an army that's better trained, better funded, and today you're talking about drawbacks. Didn't you see this coming?
And not at all. It was instinctive. You don't fight when you are being raped. A woman who is being raped cannot be expected to succumb and not shout, not fight back simply because the person who raped you is going to punch you harder. Human dignity would dictate that you fight back, even if you know that you are going to lose. Our initial reaction to pick up weapons was our instinct, human instinct, based on rational thinking, that even though the Cameroon government is better armed, better supported, we could not watch our dignity being rubbed on our face, our women being raped, villages being burnt without fighting back. And we are very proud of taking that decision. And that is the only reason why the Cameroon government have conceded in their so-called National Grand Dialogue, where they conceded that we, the people of the Anglophones, we are, our struggle is legitimate based on our linguistic and historic differences from the rest regions of Cameroon that forms the former French Cameroon. So they have considered that we were right. We pick up arms for legitimate reason. The Cameroon government have capitulated. They have accepted that we were right initially. And they should do the right thing now to make the necessary concession and to, instead of pursuing this route, imaginary route of total defeat of Ambazonia, but should to look for a negotiated solution. That is why the Ambazonian People's Right Advocacy Platform, which I am the chairman, was born. Because we, the youth, are the people who fought this war. We sustained the propaganda, we sustained the resistance, we trained the soldiers, and most of the organizations that emerged after 2016 simply took advantage of this struggle. And the partisanship that have developed within our movement have required us, the youth, the millennials, to step up and say that the reason why we are fighting this fight was to restore dignity to our people, and we must be rational. So we have made certain concession.
Yes, we'll come to your platform, the organization you chair. You talk about negotiated settlement, and that makes sense because all wars end in some sort of negotiated settlements. The question that everybody would be asking you when you mention that, Mr. Capo Daniel, is if Paul Biya today decided to negotiate Who is he talking to? The people, the group you call Ambazonia has about 4 presidents. There's President A, B, C, D. And worse still, you can't get to talk to each other. I invited one of your adversaries to debate you. He turned down that request when he had accepted. If he cannot debate you, how are you people going to talk to Paul Biya? If Paul Biya wants to negotiate, who is he talking to? That's the question.
Yeah, I think the right answer to that question is Cameroon do not lack people to negotiate with, because when the Switzerland government offered to mediate, the Cameroon government accepted in principle and never showed up. Definitely the Switzerland had done their homework. You cannot fight with somebody you don't know. We all know the players who have sustained this war. Even though our internal dynamic do not allow us to unite, like you rightly said, there are individuals who have claimed exclusive power to represent the struggle. And we know that there is no rational support of their stance. Those are those people who are self-aggrandized and they are fighting for their ego. They don't put the common interest of our people in front. The people that the Cameroon government negotiated with in Canada, I had submitted to the Canadian government when they were doing their research work through the HD and the various NGOs that supported that negotiation, the principle of the principle of influential, how influential groups are. We have different groups, different personalities with different amount of influence over the resistance, and you could measure and tell which group is more influential than the other, and you have to have a critical mass in order for negotiation. These are very common practice in international law. When there is a will to negotiate, the government will negotiate.
Are you suggesting that the government will come with the question I'm asking you, Mr. Capo Daniel, is, let's say Yaoundé wants to negotiate. They have a Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the question again. Is he going to be talking, are they going to be talking to you, to Chris Anu, to Ayabacho, Ebeneka? You people can't even sit in the same room. So how is this going to go on? If you meet Yaoundé now, the other groups are going to disown that and say they don't recognize it, or that you've taken some money from the back end. So the question again, who is Yaoundé going to be talking to? If they want to talk to somebody.
The whole purpose is, why should Yaoundé talk? That answer is going to give you the reason, lead you to the next answer. Who can Yaoundé talk to? Why should Yaoundé talk? It should be that Yaoundé have come to the conclusion that it wants negotiated settlement. And he has to look at, in the struggle, which are the organizations that represent the resistance, that are open up to negotiate a way out of this struggle. Then they will find partners to negotiate. When I don't think there is any Ambazonian group that don't want to negotiate. The only difference is that every groups have already predetermined, they put out their position in terms of negotiation. There are groups that have said that we want liberation, independence, and nothing other than independence. In that cases, groups who do not want to make any concession, it is very difficult on how you approach those groups. But my organization, my personality, have been responsible for 90% of the defense of Ambazonian case internationally. For the past 4 years, I've been the one that have been there in the international community to human rights, to help to build the capacity on the ground, to help with our ethics in the ground, to recruit soldiers, to promote our identity and all those type of stuff. We have built forces on the ground. So it boils down to the fact that even though one group do not have exclusive control of all the forces, they have different consequentiality, have different level of influence. You can tell by how many people in ground zero pay attention to which leader, how many soldiers, how do we affect the conduct of those soldiers? Which leader today in Ambazonia is capable of saying that the fighters should stop, and then they will stop?
We'll come to that.
There is absolutely no leader who can call off complete cessation of hostility. But in the real war where you and I live, we know that fighting like this will never have a complete end. Even in the Basque in Europe, where you have Spain, the ETA was fighting against for separation from Spain, even when they had a peace deal, not everybody was satisfied. There were still people who were still resisting. So in the case of Ambazonia, we must put humanity first. There is a humanitarian crisis, and it is a responsibility for the Cameroon government, if indeed they are responsible, to look for a way to put an end to this military operation, to declare an end to ceasefire. My organization have just publicized our engagement with the Ambazonian refugees in Nigeria.
I'm going to actually find out what your peace plan would look like. Time for us to have a little break. And please, if you are watching this on Facebook, you can also watch it on YouTube in high definition. If you really want to enjoy the technical quality of this broadcast, please, when you go on YouTube, hit the subscribe and notification buttons. That way, each time we bring you great contents like this you're watching, you get notified. Time for us to have a short break, 1 minute break, and we will be right back with Mr. Capo Daniel.
Welcome to Jarrett Delivery. How to place an order. Download the Jarrett customer app. Sign up with your name and phone number. Schedule an order and pay.
The nearest driver will pick it up and deliver.
With Jarrett Compensation Plan, become a referrer and enroll a business with delivery needs and earn at least 5% commission on delivery cost. Become a business partner with Jarrett and earn at least 10% commission on delivery cost. If you're a driver, you can earn 70% of the delivery cost. Great news! Our current promo is to refer a friend and get $10 on your next delivery when they use Jarrett. These are the services we provide: food delivery, furniture delivery, grocery delivery, medicine delivery, moving, junk removal, flower and gifts delivery, auto spare parts and tires, party rentals, courier delivery. For more information, call us at 2407-018513 or visit our website, www.jarrett.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. At Jarrett, we deliver with a smile. Download the Jarrett customer app from either App Store or Play Store.
You are watching Voices of Africa on Chatnite Africa. My name is Divine Nchamukong. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, let's welcome Mr. Capo Daniel on the platform. Mr. Capo Daniel, you talk about negotiations. It sounds good. Are you going to negotiate without looking like traitors in the eyes of people you revved up to pick up arms against the central government?
Yeah, this struggle and this war for us is not about us. It's about the people who are dying and who are suffering. And I must say, from the last where we end the conversation, our people are trapped right now between the rock and the hard place. There have been ideological position that some individuals within our communities have taken that is unattainable, that is not reasonable. And those type of ideology have trapped our people between the rock and the hard place. The Cameroon government have since adjusted their position following their Grand National Dialogue. I don't speak for the Cameroon government, but it has opened a window for us to rethink our strategy that we adopted initially for liberation by force. And that is something our people, our movement is engaged in. So to your question, our movement is focused about the people, not about us. So when we want to negotiate or when we are looking for solution, we are not thinking about how do people perceive us. The ETA group in Europe, the Northern Ireland who made peace with Great Britain, were also seen by the radical element within their movement as people who have betrayed their cause. The cause for independence for Ambazonia is not a suicide rope that we must hang on the neck of our people. Leaders must be able to humble themselves and submit themselves to the best interests of their people, even when it goes against our ideological stance. We are fighting for independence. We want independence. And the right thing for a leader to do is, when you realize that your goal is unattainable, for you to make the necessary adjustment, no matter how painful it is. For somebody like me who have trained soldiers and sent them to war, some of those soldiers have died, and I look at their kids today, I still see their faces in my dream. The most important thing to me is not how proud I will carry my head with a dream that they fought for, but is for me to be able to live this life one day and tell those people that their fight was not in vain. If we say that we are going to fight either for independence or nothing else, and we are not able to deliver independence, that means we are going to fight for nothing else. That means we have accepted to have a total loss scenario. That for me,
since when did it occur to you? Since when did it occur to you that fighting now for outright independence is an unproductive thing to do?
I think you have it completely upside down. Okay. We started this war because the Cameroon government banned the consortium, arrested Agbobala and the rest of the leaders of the civil society that collectively represent the Ambazonian people as a whole. For us, that was a declaration of war. For reasons that the Cameroon government have since conceded. The Cameroon government conceded in their Grand National Dialogue that the people of Southern Cameroon are a unique people that comes from our historical evolution from the British Southern Cameroon. That was what we were fighting for. We were fighting for recognition. After that declaration made by the Cameroon government and the adoption of the special status, they have considered that point, and it is time for us as people to now reconsider our approach. And since that concession was made, several negotiation attempts have been made. That negotiation attempts, I think, was only possible out of the Cameroon concession or Cameroon defeat. So we are now ready to engage with Cameroon now that the Cameroon government say, okay, yes, we accept that you people are people from the former British Southern Cameroons that came into this union as a people. So now it's time for us to negotiate with them. Before this period, we will not negotiate. Before this period, we will not accept to concede. The only reason we concede today is that because Cameroon have conceded, and it is the right thing for us to do.
If they did not concede, do you reasonably think that you can beat the government of Cameroon militarily in the battlefield?
For us, it wasn't an issue of beating the Cameroon military. Like I tell you, if you are a girl who is being raped, are you going to ask the girl, are you going to resist? If depending on the strength of your abuser. Because for us, to deny us our identity, to deny us our internationally recognized entity as a sovereign state, it is as equal as killing all of us. So we accepted the fate that let us all, we have no choice but to fight. So it is a human instinct, Mr. Nchamukong, to fight back if somebody was to refuse your identity. We have fought well, we have defeated Cameroon, and it is time for us to look for a new social contract that the Francophones and Anglophones, either we can live together or not, we should now sit together as a people. One side cannot dictate on the other how things have to go in front in their fake monologue called the National Dialogue. The Cameroon government, the central government of Cameroon, must sit on the negotiation table with us who are fighting, who have been resisting, and let us look on how we can live together or go our separate ways. This has been the call of Moran. This has been the call of all the patrons of the Southern Cameroon movement that have demanded that we must sit together as people of Bantu, people who have a common heritage, and negotiate the best way we can live together. You cannot impose on a group of people who came into a union with you out of their right of self-determination. You cannot impose the terms of us living. Amadou Ahidjo did that in the Fumban conference. And look at where we are today. It is not only the Anglophones who are dying. The poor children of Francophones are being sent to the battlefields to continue to die. And they will continue to die. Cameroon can never govern our territory again without our consent. So now, the right thing to do...
You say our... People have been asking the question, Mr. Capo Daniel, who gave you the mandate to speak for all Anglophone Cameroonians?
As an Anglophone,
what's your response?
As an Anglophone, I have a recognized right under the International Declaration of Human Rights for political association, political organization to speak for the interests of our people. I am part of that territory. I'm part of our people. I can speak for the interests of our people as I believe expresses the minds and heart of the people. And this struggle have shown through polls that 99% of our people are in support of independence. So I speak on their behalf, just like Fidel Castro. Who voted Fidel Castro to lead the Cubans for their freedom? Who voted Muammar Gaddafi to fight for their people? Who gave Nelson Mandela the mandate to speak on behalf of South Africans who were under oppressed?
Let me understand
Every human being from the community you come from, you have internationally recognized right to organize, to express your political views, and that views, to the degree to which the population identify with, becomes what the people are expressing. How do you expect all the Anglophones to speak? Those who have championed the cause are the ones who are speaking on behalf of the people who have been protesting, who have been fighting.
But Mr. Kapo, what is confusing is that you say, when I say you plural, you say you are fighting for Anglophone Cameroonians. Now, those Anglophone Cameroonians you say you are fighting for are questioning why it's now like a cyclical fight among you people, you, Chris Anu, Ayabacho. It's like you are in a cyclical firing range, opening fire at each other. What is it? If you are fighting for the interest of Anglophone Cameroonians, why are you fighting among yourselves?
Because there are radical elements within our struggle, like any struggle around the world.
How did it get to this?
There are people who have claimed exclusive right that has no backings internationally. There is no law that gives somebody the right to declare themselves exclusive president of Ambazonia. That is ridiculous. Mr. Nchamukong, who have made Chris Anu, Sako, Marianta, and all those people president of Anglophones or president of Ambazonia. They don't have a popular mandate. The right every Ambazonia have is a right to represent our best interests to the degree to which they have influence over the population. Those are internationally recognized principles. So anybody calling himself president can be a president of an organization, but not of the country, because we are not a sovereign state. We don't have access to our sovereignty yet. So you know that any reasonable person will come to the conclusion that any of those people who are claiming exclusive rights are talking nonsense. Those are gibberish. We must be serious here, Mr. Nchamukong. There are people who are dying, and those people deserve their voices to be heard. You have seen my organization down in the refugees camp interviewing elected representatives of our refugees, visiting camps upon camps for them to express themselves. We are representing the views of our people, the sentiment of our people, the people who want independence, the people who are struggling for their identity, all Anglophones.
I'm going to ask you a question about your organization. You say it's called the People's Rights Advocacy Platform, and you are the chairman. How is this organization you now lead different from where you were with Ayabacho as the leader, Advocacy, if I called it right? How are you different from that organization?
The Advocacy that is led by Ayabacho, which I was a senior representative of that organization. I was not only a member of that organization, I was also Siseko Sayok Tabi's IG's ambassador to Asia and the Middle East. I've been serving this struggle at the highest level. I was one of the first commanders that led the Manu Tigers in the initial wars of this struggle. I established the British Southern Cameroon Resistance Forces of General Arike. I've been a top diplomat traveling around the world to represent the various movements and the struggle for our people. So now, the Ambazonian People's Rights Advocacy Platform, which is a legal organization registered here in Canada as the People's Rights Advocacy Platform, represents the vast majority of our people. We have the biggest network, and that is reflected in our ability to deliver accurate assessment on what is happening on the ground. We have been the highest influential on the ground in terms of influencing the resistance and sustaining our fight against Cameroon. And we are doing our best to represent the best interests of our people. How different are we from the rest of the organizations? Ayabacho and his group, and many of the groups that we have in Ambazonia, have been locked in their own logic of dominance. And when you claim that you are the president, or when you claim that you are the commander-in-chief of all forces, which are those false claims that some of our leaders have made, then you get trapped within yourself. You are lying. You are saying things that are not truthful. There is no commander-in-chief that controls all forces in Ground Zero. There is no president that have been elected. So these are people who are making baseless claims, and you know better. So the difference is that me, as a young man who fought as a foot soldier, who built the capacity on the ground, who created the network on the ground, was in charge of the 1st of October Independence Day Declaration organization on the field. We have learned a lot, and we have realized that the radical element within our struggle, individuals that came to take advantage of a popular movement, that have brought to our struggle nothing but scandals of corruption, political assassination, setting up fighters to kill themselves. Those people cannot be relied upon by our generation or our people to bring solution to the table, because they are locked up in this ideology of dominance. So we who fought for this struggle, who will build the resistance, we have that responsibility not to abandon our people between the hard rock and a bad place, but to step up to leadership, or governize our people for political solutions that are attainable. That is why we were born as a movement, and that is why our people continue to follow our leadership, both within the forces and in our population as a whole.
Mr. Capo Daniel is my guest today, and you're watching Voices of Africa on Chatnite Africa. My name is Divine Nchamukong.
We love Chatnite Africa.
Keep listening. Mr. Capo Daniel, I have heard from you allegations of corruption in the other camps that you oppose, war crimes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, all kinds of stuff, when I mean it literally speaking. When we hear all of this, why should Anglophone Cameroonians trust you, again, you plural, to lead? Had Mr. Biya said in 2017, okay, you don't want to be part of Cameroon, goodbye. What do you think would be happening in Anglophone Cameroon today? It looks to me something worse than South Sudan.
Yeah, to be very humble.
Given what we are seeing now.
Yeah, to be very humble to our public and your audience, what you are saying is a sad reality. When we started fighting this war, we're fighting a brutal regime that respects no law or human right. Unfortunately, we have realized that amongst ourselves Anglophones, that same Francophone virus have infested our society. We have people who are more corrupt than Paul Biya. We have people who are more diabolic than Paul Biya. And if we Anglophones were to go today amongst the various organizations that we have, we will have a civil war that might even be worse than what we find in South Sudan. That is why responsible people like myself have come out. And to be honest with you, right from the beginning of this struggle in 2016, when the uprising began, I have always championed best practices. I remember when my brother there, Eric Tato, was instructing people to chop off the hands of people. I was the main person that stood up and said that, no, not in our name. This conduct are counterproductive. When the corruption in Sako, embezzling $2 million that was collected for self-defense and soldiers were dying on the ground, I was the first person to come up and say that this man is a corrupt man. He's a con man, somebody who is wanted back home for crimes that are very despicable. So I've always stood for best practices, fighting our way to make sure we sustain the resistance while maintaining our cohesion. Unfortunately, those efforts, as you can tell by what is happening, have all been in vain because we are not able to unite ourselves. It's not possible for Anglophones to come together. But I think that those of us who champion this, who actually build the capacity to resist, those of us who sustain our propaganda, we have the responsibility to land this ship safely. And that is exactly what I'm going to do.
Keep watching Chatnite Africa!
The phone line is open. I told Mr. Capo Daniel that when he comes here, he should be ready to take questions on the phone, and we require courtesy. If you're going to call, the number is 240-603-7367. 240-603-7367. You can dial the number now. You will ask your questions directly to Mr. Capo Daniel, but we require courtesy. Again, you don't have to agree with him to be courteous on the phone. Our platform, Chatnite Africa, is not a partisan platform. That's why we have AMBA leaders come here. We have CPDM people come here. We have Federalist people come here. That's because they realize that we are fair but tough in our questioning. Mr. Capo Daniel, you have said that you've served as a diplomat. You've served some diplomatic functions within your cycles. How is it that all these years, no country is identifying with what you are doing in Anglophone Cameroon, identifying with you to fight the central government and cut off from the rest of the country? It comes across to me like selling pork in a neighborhood where people don't eat pork. You're selling it to yourself.
Mr. Nchamukong, I think that is really not true. You are a journalist and you must recognize the fact. When we started this war, the ambassador, who is a top diplomat of the United States back in Cameroon, called out Mr. Paul Biya for war crimes, for targeted killing. The Cameroon government was denounced for cutting off the internet to stop our population from communicating with the diaspora. The German government that was supporting the fight against Boko Haram withdrew their force. When Donald Trump came into power, he cut off Cameroon from AGOA. The international community have been calling out Cameroon on this quest, and they have stood side and side.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Things change.
Hold it there, Mr. Capo. I agree with you that the government of the United States, they've been denouncing human rights abuses across the world. But that does not translate to mean that they side with you cutting off from Cameroon. There are two different things.
As a matter of principle, this struggle was all about Cameroon denying the existence of the former British Southern Cameroon as a territory with the people that have rights to self-determination. That changed in 2019 when the Cameroon had their Grand National Dialogue, their own way of coming out to say that we have conceded. And since that time, we saw the language of the international community change. There have been calls for direct negotiation. There have been calls for negotiation without precondition because our case is legitimate. That is why the Switzerland offered themselves and the Canadian offered their good office, because this is a legitimate case that represents the aspiration of a people who are under subjugation. So, of course, the international community sympathizes with us as minority people who are being slaughtered, whose rights have been refused. But now, as the table have turned, Cameroon have made some concessions and given some whitewash decisions to deceive the world that they have actually solved the problem. Making concession is good. We welcome those concessions, but Cameroon have not resolved the problem. Cameroon must sit down with the parties to the conflict and make negotiated settlement that will resolve this war. So as I'm going
to come back to this question again, Mr. Capo. If the government of Cameroon decided to talk to you, what's the guarantee that Mr. Yabacho is going to go with the decisions that you make with the government of Cameroon?
There is no guarantee. That I can tell you. The radical,
but that's the problem.
That will always be a problem. Even in Colombia, not all the factions came to the negotiation table. But this is what we have to know. My organization is the organization with the broadest network within our society. We have the biggest influence over our resistance. And the solutions we have submitted in our peace plan paper represent the best aspiration that is being embraced by our people increasingly today. And we believe that resolving this conflict lies in these solutions we have proposed as a separate.
I'm going to come to the solution after this break. You are watching Voices of Africa on Chatnite Africa.
We love Chatnite Africa.
And on this platform are 3 broadcast programs, Voices of Africa, which is what you're watching now. You also have Healthline, and you have Family Matters. We air our shows concurrently on www.chatniteafrica.net. It's a stunningly beautiful platform, broadcast website. You ought to go there and explore it. It's beautiful, one of the best you would find. We are on LinkedIn. We are on 2 places, on Facebook. We are on YouTube. And let me say this, if you want to watch this program in sharp resolution, go to YouTube now and search Chatnite Africa. Please remember to show us some love by hitting the subscribe button and notification bell. If you have Android phones, you can also go to your Play Store and download Chatnite Africa app there. Once you tap on that app on your phone, you get connected instantly. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a break for 1 minute, and I will be right back.
Welcome to Garrett Delivery Service LLC. Have you been looking for a reliable and affordable moving company? Garrett Delivery Service moves your belongings using extra safety measures. We offer customized solutions to fit all of your delivery requirements, saving you time and money. We are dedicated to providing you with safe and prompt delivery services by partnering with a network of local drivers. Feel free to call us if you need assistance with booking your delivery. Here are some of the proficient services we offer: local moving services, furniture delivery services, medicines delivery services, letters delivery services, documents delivery services, grocery delivery services, food delivery services, flowers and gifts delivery services, junk removal services, home cleanout service. Other attributes to make you hire our fascinating services. Operational since 2019, 24/7 availability, timely delivery, trusted partnership with local movers. We value your time, maximum customer satisfaction, reasonable rates. Get in touch to book your delivery.
Okay, thank you, Garrick, for placing this art on Chatnite Africa platform. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have somebody on the line now from Yaoundé, Cameroon. But before we take the call, let's bring on Mr. Capo Daniel on the platform again. Mr. Capo Daniel, we have somebody on the line. Just hang on. We will be having, I just got indication that she is on the line from Yaoundé, Cameroon. You are watching Voices of Africa on Chatnite. She is on the line. Hello, this is Chatnite Africa.
Hello, Uncle D. Good afternoon, good evening.
Thank you. Everybody on the planet is listening to you, including Mr. Capo Daniel in the studio.
Thank you so very much. Hello, Capo. How are you, my brother?
You're welcome, my dear.
Capo, thank you. I have a question for you. We know presidential, I've listened to you and your willingness to talk with government and ease things for our people. And I want to say, we know how this government, there has been deadlock in all attempts to dialogue with the actual government. And presidential elections have been announced for 2025. And we all know in crisis situations like this one, presidential elections present a window of opportunity to foster inclusivity, participation, representation, and conflict transformation. I would like to know if you, when I mean you now, I'm talking about you, the leaders, even though you are not speaking with the same voice, can you, for the sake of the same people that we have been struggling for, give permission to Anglophone Cameroonians to massively register and vote in 2025 so that we can oust this government and expect a new La Republique government or whatever government that will be willing to dialogue with us and put things right. Because I know with the authority, with the powers that the boys on Ground Zero have, they are the best people to lead this campaign for people to vote, to observe the vote, to secure the vote, to count the vote and make sure they are counted and secured. Are you willing as to come together as the leaders of the Ambazonia to use this window of opportunity? Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, what's your response to the lady in Yaoundé?
Yes, I think that during election years, the international community pays attention. It presents a very important window where we can push for the case of inclusivity and also conflict transformation. The international partners are more interested to see how they can foster such agenda during period of election. And we have some challenges. For us as the People's Right Advocative Platform, our message to the Cameroon government, which we have strategically pushed our agenda to submit to the Cameroon government, our peace plan paper by the end of this year, to give the Cameroon government a window of opportunity to accept this peace plan paper as the basis for negotiation and put autonomy for Ambazonia on the ballot during this presidential election. If the Cameroon government takes this opportunity and put in a autonomy through the devolution of power in the ballot box, our people will have a reason to vote. Right now, the Ambazonian people, all Anglophones, what difference does it make for you to vote? How practical is it for you to vote when we don't have a political settlement? Without any political settlement, any attempt to carry out vote will not be reflective of our population, because only the Cameroon military people are going to be able to vote because they can protect themselves. The vast majority of our population will still face extremists who are using illegal methods, war criminals who are masking themselves as people who are pursuing our legitimate goal for our public interest. We should recognize as Anglophones that we are trapped in between the hard place and a rock. At one side, we have Paul Biya, who is pursuing an agenda of military victory, which is not attainable. On the other side, we have radicals and extremists, war criminals, like Ayabacho, which still uses this war to use illegal methods to massacre our people in the name of fighting for our freedom, while focusing mainly on collecting liberation tax from our population. There is no way you can have election in this condition. This election have given a unique opportunity for the people of Cameroon to join the People's Right Advocative Platform to push this agenda of the peace plan paper, that Mr. Paul Biya, for your legacy, for the legacy of this Cameroon that we all love growing up, accept a political settlement that is just, that will be accepted by the vast majority of our people, so that in that election you can even have autonomy in the ballot. If the Cameroon government refused to accept our offer that we are offering in this peace plan before the presidential election comes, there is just no way election will be practicable in Ambazonia, because then the only legitimacy people like Ayabacho have is that there is no political settlement. If we have a political settlement, the main reason why our boys are fighting for war will cease to exist. You are going to delegitimize criminals who works in the name of liberators, and people like Ayabacho, who could have been in jail for war crimes that were committed in Ambazonia, still works freely in no way, because Cameroon government himself do not want to put our radicals in prison simply because it serves their purpose. It serves their purpose.
What is it? What's your peace plan? What's the process?
The peace plan paper, which we are going to make public, we have distributed it to all the Ambazonian fighters, is a proposition for an alternative solution to to meet the Cameroon halfway. In this peace plan paper, we have made certain concessions that we believe are the hard points that the Cameroon government have insisted in our engagement in negotiation table. One is that we consider that we Anglophones, we the people of the former British Southern Cameroon, are part of Cameroon. Not the French Cameroon, but the Cameroon that both territories came together to form. One people, or one country, two people. In doing this concession, we have proposed that the Cameroon government devolve power, give us effective devolution of power from the constitution that will grant our territory self-governance and autonomy, where we'll be able to elect our own governor, manage our own police force, fire brigade, and even territorial force. Alongside with the Cameroon government, we should have exclusive jurisdiction over certain parts of our own governance. We believe this solution will be the best, and it will offer Cameroon an opportunity to stay as one country while maintaining our bilingual nature, as we are two different people from two different backgrounds. This is a big opportunity we are giving to the Cameroon government and to the international community. And we hope that by the end of this year, when we submit it to Cameroon government, we don't believe we have the threshold support from the international community, but we are getting there. Our population is 100% behind our peace plan. Our people are fed up with the war. They are disillusioned by the delusion leaders that we have, who are accusing everybody of being with La Republic. And our population wants this war to come to an end. You have seen publication.
I'm going to ask you some questions about what you call devolution after this transition. And before we bring you the video transition, I'd like to inform you that you can watch this show in extreme bright resolution, sharp resolution on YouTube. Simply go on YouTube and search Chatnite Africa. You can also go to our brand new, beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous website, www.chatniteafrica.net. If you have an Android phone, you can go to your Play Store and simply search Chatnite Africa and download the app. Once you hit the app, you get connected to all the social media handles where we have a presence. Please, if you're on YouTube, do us this favor, show some love to us by hitting the subscription button and notification bell. Once we come on the air, you will get us. I have some very pointed questions for Mr. Capo Daniel after this jingle, and I'll be right back.
Chatnite Africa. 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 Chatnite Africa.
Chatnite Africa, Africa's voice to the world. My name is Divine Nchamukong, and I am anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
Keep watching Chatnite Africa.
Mr. Capo Daniel, you say that 100% of the population are behind your plan of what you call devolution. How do you know that?
That was a stretch, my friend. It wasn't 100%. It's not possible.
I get that. But how do you know that people even support this?
Yes, based on our polling, we have our polling with our population as a whole. We get feedback from our interaction. We have people on the ground. And because it's a war, we can't do things very transparently. But from all the polls we have made, our population is for political settlement. They understand the dynamic of the struggle, and they want us to end the war. And we have a strong mandate from our people, the forces, and our refugees, political prisoners, our diaspora population who wants to go back home. But we all agree as Ambazonians, as Anglophones, that we want freedom. We want separation. Ultimately, we want independence. But we know the possibility of that happening. There is one thing also I want to point to you. This is true. And mark my word. every Ambazonians or every Anglophone who is fighting for the right of equality, who is fighting for the right of self-determination, for the right of freedom, whatever they are fighting, we all have one thing we have agreed right from the beginning of this struggle, that we do not stand for illegal methods, the killing of our own people. We do not stand for the use of criminal war crimes in persecuting a legitimate aspiration of our people. That is why Eric Tato was rejected for butchering our own people. And that is why today our people are rejecting Ayabacho. In some areas, they are bundling his people who follow his ideology and turning them over to La Republique, because we, as much as our people are fighting for their right of self-determination, we also reject illegal methods, criminal activities against our own people. Our people reject excessive lockdown. And these are the voices we represent in the People's Right Advocacy platform that we have struggled with for a long time within the various movements. And we have said that enough is enough. It's time for us to put our people first, put their interests first, and make sure that whatever we push forth as a solution should be paramount to what will meet the demands of our people.
You reference some polls that and not only you, I've seen a lot of people reference polling that Anglophone Cameroonians want independence. Again, my question is I'm not here to justify one thing or the other. I'm just asking straight questions I also get from the other side. What did the questioning or the questionnaire say? Did it say you want independence by war? Or because if you just ask people, do you want independence? A lot of people are going to say yes, of course. But if you ask, do you want independence by war? You perhaps will start getting different answers. What was the question in the polling?
The scientific polling that we can quote publicly was what was done by the AGC of late Cardinal Tumi. People actually, it wasn't on the question, but people went out of their way. 95% of people went out of the questionnaire and fill a part where he asks, what other things do you have to say? They say we want absolute independence. But you are right when it comes to people to ask, what means do you want us to attain that independence? Nobody will choose war, of course. We all know that. And right now, there is no reason for this war to continue. The reason being that Cameroon have conceded. Cameroon have capitulated. They have accepted and recognized that we Anglophones, we are a unit, we are a people that comes from our historical background from being the former British Trust Territory. That alone, that declaration alone, should make us rethink our way forward. That is why my platform, the People's Right Advocative Platform, we have said that it is right time for us to end the war and move into a phase of negotiation. And our proposition is autonomy, self-governance for the Anglophone region as a unit, as it is. That is why we are pushing forward for this peaceful solution that will de-escalate the war on the ground and isolate the radicals, because our people are trapped by those who are radical, who are not reasonable, who don't have the interests of the people at heart. You persecute our own people should not be allowed to continue to run the road of Ambazonia. It should not continue.
Mr. Capo Daniel, you keep referencing Ayabacho as a war criminal, as a radical. If you did not share his ideology, how were you his deputy?
When I was his deputy, remember that this war, Ayabacho have always been the underdog, somebody who have been fighting for relevance and fighting to see the limelight. He was chased out of UK. You have videos of Ambazonia running behind him saying that this is an oil dealer, somebody who is known for scamming. But nevertheless, he had some very dedicated people who follow him and have a very disciplined force in ground zero. And he has been radical all along. And when Seseko Ayoktabi was arrested by the Nigerian government and rendition to Cameroon, we were looking for somebody who could emerge and replace him. And in my good judgment, I thought that I would join Ayabacho. He was supporting me for the most part in my campaign against some ills and war crimes that was being perpetrated in our struggle, primarily by Eric Tato and some other people who were influencing soldiers to carry out some radical and out of law activities. Ayabacho was very supportive of my campaign. And amongst all the leaders, he was the most supportive. When children were killed in Kumba, they were killed in schools in Ekondo Titi, Ayabacho was the only leader that I forced to put out a statement to condemn that attack. No other leader did. So I worked with Ayabacho. We fought against kidnapping. I was named the anti-kidnapping czar. We stood up against all this illegality. But when the Canadian talk ended, he went back to his old self. And it was a matter of desperation, because I could remember when we were dealing with the issue, the question of should we have an alliance with the Biafra movement or not. We came to the conclusion basically out of desperation. We're saying that what else do we have to lose? You know, we are fighting to defend ourselves. The international community have not showed up with recognition. So what else do we have to lose? It was just a desperate movement. So we joined the Biafra. And I know not being able to have independence is very desperate to people who have dedicated all their life that it will be independent or nothing. They don't want to have anything with Francophones whatsoever, irrespective of the dynamic. So people who have that mindset, there is something that is wrong with them. And we must accept and learn how to live with such people. In many conflicts, people like that should be put in prison. For the people Ayabacho have killed on ground zero, just like I supported that Eric Tato should go to jail, I will still support for Ayabacho to go to prison for the public execution of innocent people, not combatants. We are fighting a war. Fight against the Cameroon government. That is fair game. But killing our own people, burning down palaces, is not acceptable.
We're going to extend an invitation to Mr. Ayabacho to respond to you. If he accepted to debate you, would you accept to come have a face-off with him?
A clean mind have no reservation. I'm ready to debate anybody, anywhere. But the people who are going to back out like Chris Anu are people who have blood in their hands, blood of innocent people. They cannot stand the truth because darkness will always run away when light comes. I am the light in this our struggle. Right from day one, I stood up for principles. We stood up to fight for a genuine and legitimate cause. Anybody who is genuine, fighting for a legitimate cause, cannot turn and embrace illegal methods, cannot turn and embrace war crimes. But I must say,
when you were
people like Ayabacho has been given to us by Pobia.
Where I'm confused, where it's a little confusing to me, Mr. Capo Daniel, when you were ADF senior official, the ADF was not a church group, was not a choir group. It was not a group of saints.
It was the most disciplined. It was the most disciplined group. It fought against kidnapping for ransom. I personally oversaw operation that stopped gangs in Bamenda. Over 42 gangs, property were recovered. People who were kidnapped were released. Kidnappers were arrested. We were disciplined under my command. And I think Ambazonia can testify. Even yourself, you can testify to that. I have a very clean record with the ADF. There was no atrocity that was committed under Ambazonian Defense Forces when I was the Deputy Defense Chief. If there was one, I want you to quote it. And each time, soldiers on their own carry out atrocity. Me, I take the command responsibility to denounce those activities, reprimand those soldiers, and send a clear message to our people that such behavior are not acceptable. A simple case that happened was the killing of the journalist that happened in Bamenda. That was done in when I was a commander in that unit in Tanka. I denounced the killing. We took responsibility. We apologized to the family, and we said that this is not what we stand for. We will not tolerate the killing of journalists. Journalists are a protected group of people, and that was the right thing to do. But today, what we see is Ayabacho, Lucas Ashu, and the rest in that their cartel openly saying that they will not obey international law, publicly executing innocent people, admitting conduct that will make them to look like ISS of Ambazonia. We don't have any place in our society. But unfortunately, the war, without any political solution, you will have people like that who have a semblance of legitimacy because there is no political settlement yet. That is why we are pushing for this solution. And we ask every Ambazonian who wants to see the carnage stop, who wants to see the end of Ayabacho, end of war crimes in our territory, to back a political settlement that is going to delegitimize any radical and extremist movement that roam our street in the name of liberation.
We will be, as I said, we will be inviting Mr. Ayabacho and Mr. Chris Anu for what we call in journalism right of response. Before we ask you a key final question, we have a little transition to watch. You will love what you are watching. This is Chatnite Africa.
So I guess I'm live now. I can't see my host. So I guess you guys can hear me. Yes, we have been in a war for the past 8 years, fighting a war that we were not prepared for, a war that was triggered by Cameroon banning of our identity, using its anti-terrorism law on peaceful protesters who were simply fighting for a more inclusive and equitable society. For the past 8 years, we have fought a good fight. The Cameroon government have reversed and succumbed to our demands to recognize us as a unique territory. We as a society must be able to take the next step to provide solution to this war. So, Mr. Nchamukong, I don't know if you were hearing me, but I saw myself on the screen.
I was hearing you. Everything you
Yeah,
were
I
saying.
thought that you had given me the chance to make
okay.
maybe a closing statement or something. So that was what I was doing.
Now, the question that I'm going to ask you before we actually close, Mr. Capo Daniel, it's nice to talk about a political solution, but here are you not on speaking terms with Mr. Ayabacho and the other partners on the ground. Somebody's asking me how this is going to work. Number two, if you even have a presence on ground zero. What's your answer?
Of course, I have the biggest presence.
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course, we have the biggest network within our communities. The actions, especially our dark forces that were carrying out what we call fire brigade, You have heard of fire instances, sabotage operations within Cameroon. We have seized those operations as part of our de-radicalization process in order to gear up for the possibility of a negotiated solution. Yes, there are always going to be differences amongst us, the various Ambazonian groups, and there are groups that are going to oppose even a peaceful settlement. Even if we were to have independence today, there are still going to be groups that are going to continue the battle for dominance. But we must focus on the people and move past that. We have the influence. And like the Canadian talks, as I told you, I had written a document which the Canadian used as a way to carry that process, which is called consequentiality. There's no group in Ambazonia that have absolute command and control like a government will have over its soldiers. What we have over our soldiers and our people who are resisting and sustaining the liberation is the influence we have. And right now, I'm the most influential Ambazonian activist that is engaged in this struggle based on polls that was provided, data that was provided from us by Google, based on their calculation from YouTube and WhatsApp. So we have the biggest voice that speaks on behalf of our people. And we believe that a political settlement that we are offering will be key in ending the violence and demonetizing, de-radicalizing our youth from the most radical elements amongst our society. We don't expect that everybody is going to agree. We don't expect that everybody is going to.
Those fighting on the ground, Mr. Capo Daniel, who do they pay allegiance to? You, Ayabacho, Chris Anu, or who? Who are they listening to? If
our fighters on the ground
ignore Ghost Town, would they do it?
Let me respond to your question. Our fighters on the ground do not adhere to any chain of command like a contemporary military would do, where the commander-in-chief will give order and those orders will be carried out like people who depend on their salary from a central government. Our soldiers on the ground rely on legitimacy of the struggle that is provided by our articulation from the diaspora. They believe in our leadership. They trust our ability to show them direction, and they look upon us as people who have influence over them. And now it is upon us on how we use that influence. A political solution, I'll give you an example. Amongst our soldiers, about 60% of them wants a negotiated settlement. Amongst our civilians, about 95% of them want a negotiated settlement. So we have different policies from our population. But to resolve a struggle such as this, the ability to end the war depends on the legitimacy of the fight. Why the fighting is going on today, why the fighters are continuing to fight today, is because the solution offered by Cameroon government is not seen as being meets with the aspiration of our people. It's cosmetic, it's not acceptable. It is a solution that is being imposed by the regime. Our population trust us, who have been the most influential in sustaining the resistance, the most influential in fighting for their narrative, to be able to have that same influence and trust in them, in us, to transmit to them what is acceptable. And that is what leadership is all about. And that is why you have me today in your show. You didn't just go to the street and look for any Anglophone to bring them to talk about this struggle. I believe the reason you call me is because you know I'm a credible leader. I have led soldiers in battle. I have a big influence, the biggest influence over our soldiers, irrespective of our camps. So this is how it should be done. We have offered a peace plan paper to the Cameroon government to grant our people autonomy. If the Cameroon government is interested in peace, they should accept this peace plan and let our people return back home.
I'm going to call you back for your last word before we wrap up this. And if people of the Ayabacho camp and the Chris Anu camp are listening, you will be having an invitation from me. And I'm telling my audience, if you don't see them come, then we invited them and they refused to show up because they have to respond to all the allegations or statements made by Mr. Capo Daniel. That's what, to us, independence of journalism looks like. I will give you a little jingle, and when we return, we will be having our closing statements from Mr.
I've been having conversations with people in the background, and the kinds of things they say about what you do for the community, you cannot imagine how big that is.
watching Voices of Africa.
Chatnite Africa. Keep watching Chatnite Africa.
Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscription button and notification bell. We've lined up powerful contents for you in the weeks ahead. We're expecting to have Mr. Yabacho and Mr. Chris Anu to come and respond to the statements that we would have loved to have them all on the platform to debate each other, but unfortunately, they're not. I don't know why you guys cannot come and talk to the audience. Let Cameroonians weigh each other. I mean, for what they are. I just don't understand.
Isn't it obvious? I think, Mr. Nchamukong, you should be honest with yourself. Do you expect Ayabachu to come and say that the people he executed in
he can come and say that he did not do it, that you were responsible because you were his deputy chief of...
I wasn't his deputy chief.
No, I'm not saying...
No, his spokesman, actually, the Human Rights Watch is a forensic investigative team that presented evidence that those were war crimes committed on our streets. Do you expect him to accept?
I had a question texted me from Mr. Fidelis Casper. He says, Mr. Kapo, where and how is the Cameroon government presenting this resolution plan? I think he wants to say, where and how did you present the resolution to the Cameroon government, the resolution plan to Cameroon government? I think that's what he wants to say.
Yeah.
What's the response?
Our strategy is to mobilize our people. We have had conversation with our soldiers. Now we have just completed to sample the opinions of our refugees and IDPs so that by the time we put this offer, our population, we are leading our population along. And we also need to secure, which is what we didn't do in Canada and in Switzerland, is to have the international community with us in this journey. That's why we have struggled to secure an invitation to the United Nations to be able to lobby nation states with our plan so that by the time we present this thing to the president of Cameroon, we will have the war behind our back. Because
I understand you right, you haven't yet contacted Yaoundé with this peace plan.
Yaoundé is aware because the whole concept.
I mean, it's one thing to be aware, it's one thing to have contact. I mean, did you contact them?
Officially, we have not submitted the offer yet, but the government of Cameroon, through our international partners, do understand the spirit of this peace plan paper. They have reacted positively. And in terms of their reaction with us going forth, they have shown some signs of flexibility on the ground. There have been Ambazonian forces that have gone through the de-escalation program that we have for the forces, that the Cameroon government have actually met them on ground zero, and they are not engaged in battle with the Cameroon government. The Cameroon government does not engage with them.
You're going to answer this question, Mr. Capo-Daniel, and that would be your last word. The question has just been sent to me by text. The person prefers anonymity. The question is, how can you people say, claiming to be leaders, punishing, inflicting pain on the same people you claim to be liberating? What's your response? I've heard this so many times from so many people on ground zero.
You cannot substitute people's ability to make decision and assessment for themselves. I have never committed a war crime. Everybody knows who have committed a war crime. Ayabacho have come here and said that he will never follow the Geneva Convention. So why not call him by his name? We are not all one. You yourself have said that we are diverse. We have different groups. So the groups that are committing war crimes are known to everybody. Call them by their name. Stop associating everybody. The Anglophone struggle, the struggle for the people of the former British Southern Cameroon is collective. But the various groups are segregated. So we all know the groups that have been committing war crimes. And I want to permit you, Mr. Divine, to give a last appeal to your audience and all Cameroonians who are listening to me, both Francophones and Anglophones. Because for the past 8 years, we have been fighting and struggling and killing each other. The Cameroon government have made some concessions and have made some cosmetic solutions that does not meet up with our aspiration. That is why the blood is still flowing in our territory. I'm appealing on all Anglophones, all West Cameroonians, whatever you see, whatever you call yourself, including Francophones, to support this peace plan paper that calls for autonomy for the Anglophone regions. Our people deserve to govern themselves, elect their own government. Let us stop the charade. Let us come together as Bantu people and apply real pressure to the enemy. And I also understand our people who have been turned off by war crimes, people who use illegal methods to prosecute this struggle. They do not represent the vast majority of our liberation movement. The vast majority of Anglophones wants to be self-sufficient. They want to have a space of their own where they can express their uniqueness, but they do not support war crimes in our territory. They, for the most part, are in captivity. They are in captivity from the hands of radicals, extremists. And the only thing that can save us is political settlement. That will usher in a new era where both Francophones and Anglophones, like Martin Luther says, I have a dream that one day Anglophones and Francophones shall work as equal partners to prosper that region of the Delta region in the Gulf of Guinea. That is my dream.
I'm going to ask you a question, which I have, again, I listened to before I invited you here, and I invited Chris Anu as well to appear with you. He declined. Before I invited both of you, I called a lot of people in Bamenda, in Boya in the southwest, lots of villages in the northwest and so on. And they were shocked that caterpillars that have been sent to construct roads are being burned by some of your fighters.
They were burned by the ADF. And that is not by...
If somebody owes you money, let's say somebody owes you,
yes,
even that person is your enemy, and he decides to pay that debt, are you going to refuse that? Well, that's your enemy, you're not taking your money. The reason I'm asking this question is because we Anglophone Cameroonians, we have been complaining that we didn't have roads, we didn't have this for 60 years, and that is true. Marginalization was true. But what many people are not getting, and I'm echoing their feelings here now in what I'm saying, is caterpillars are sent to tar the roads, to construct the roads, and you are burning the caterpillars. It's not making sense to a lot of people. Don't you need the roads? When is Paul Biya going to drive on those roads?
I get their feelings. I get their feelings. And as a leader, I affirm their feelings.
I'm echoing. Again, I talk to so many people on ground zero, and this is what they're telling me.
Yes, I feel their pain, and I feel as I take responsibility as the leaders who have called boys to pick up arms, who have sustained the resistance, that we have failed them in terms of putting up standards within our struggle. That is as a result of our internal dynamic. That reasonable voices are suppressed, bullies have filled the space, and I call on them to continue to have, to engage with our program and follow my movement. It is by isolating the radical elements within our struggle that we can end such internal violence. It is very unfortunate, Mr. Nchamukong, that we see what is happening even in Gozang. But I can tell our people as well that they are now taking actions against such radical movement. We should never accept such abuses. Any illiterate who burns the property of contractors without any rationale will be held responsible by our population. We will not accept that nonsense anymore. And more and more people are speaking up. People like Ayabacho are being called to book. Today, he's threatening to kill everybody. And that is how Pol Pot in Cambodia started. He came from France, from the university, that he wanted to liberate Cambodia. What did he do? He committed mass genocide against his own people. Today, we face the same existential threat from Ayabacho and the ADF. It should stop.
I'm going to, you say the caterpillars are being burned down by his fighters. So I'm going to invite Mr. Ayabacho to ask him how that makes sense.
The commander referenced his name during the burning of that video. Is Amoka. This is one of the commanders that will be making video.
I'm going to inviting Dr. Ayabacho to answer responsible to some of these hard questions, same tough questions I've asked you.
And I think you are part of the problem. I think you are part of the problem because you, as a journalist, you should be the people who can make assessment. In America, when we watch where you live, we see how journalists, they confront politicians and tell them, you are lying here, you are wrong here. But Ayabacho came to your show. You played a video of people complaining that he instructed people to block the road between Bangui and Bamenda. And you ask him and he tell you that that road does not exist. And you let him go. Why can't you bring those evidence? But you are just interested in condemning all of us Ambazonian leaders.
Not at all.
As a journalist, you should also know that we have expectation from you people.
Absolutely. I have invited CPDM people and they have systematically turned
down. When you had the separatists here, what did you do to Ayabacho?
I asked him why he would block the road to Mbengui. He said he did it.
He did it. He said that road didn't exist. And what was your response?
Well, I didn't agree with him. I don't understand how you would block roads.
As a journalist, you must be able to know facts. You must do your research and tell Ayabacho, you cannot say that this road does not exist. At one point, you are saying that you have blocked the road and the road does not exist. What nonsense is this? We need journalists to be bold. Our journalists in Ground Zero cannot speak because they are vulnerable to attacks from extremists like Ayabacho. But you are living in your safety and in your comfort. You should be held responsible for letting these things happen. You must speak the truth, speak truth to power. It's not a job of us leaders to do that. Journalists must be able to. In America, they do what they call the truth tester. How do you call this thing? Well, the fact check. You should fact check Ayabacho, and because it is there in your YouTube, full of lies and manipulation. Go to your YouTube, edit the video with Ayabacho, and present to the population, your audience, that these are the truth and these are the lies that this man is telling. Let the people know who is credible, who actually represents them.
If Dr. Ayabacho accepts my invitation, we will have a vivacious broadcast, I can assure you, and we'll do the same. The idea is to ask the tough questions to all of you, so that that's one way that the press will hold you people accountable. Thank you so much for coming on Chatnite Africa. I just personally don't believe that you should burn Qatar, even if, let me tell you something, if Frank Beer were to come to the Northwest and Southwest provinces, regions, to tar all the roads, I'll say welcome. That they're supposed to have done that for 60 years. And then they come, we're burning the caterpillars. I don't get it. I'm not understanding the logic.
You should understand that there are the radicalism and extremism is not rational. Ayabacho 3 days ago came out with an audio saying that all municipal job works in Ambazonia should stop. And we know that that is directly related to the activity of the burning of those caterpillars. He's doing so because he wants to collect money from those contractors. We all know that. Once they pay him off, he will stay back and allow the work to continue. And we should distinguish between legitimate struggle for the Anglophones, for a legitimate cause. Using legitimate means from people who are criminals, war criminals. We will not accept Samuel Doe's and all those type of criminal people we hear around the world in our territory. Never in Ambazonia land.
It seems you have a lot to say about this. We've got to go. It's way over the time we had to have.
Thank you, Mr. Nchamukong.
I know that we can be here for 3 hours. And are you a politician? Because politicians talk a lot.
Human beings are political by nature. That is what my professor told me at the university. And we have been made, like they say, in a condition, it make Jangai back bend. I think for us, the millennia who ran away from Cameroon because of lack of opportunity as a result of marginalization. Most of us, we have traveled abroad and we have seen how the world works. And we have even participated in politics abroad. And we say that, no, we cannot stay back and watch our own land in the way it is. That's why we are speaking up, and that's why we are taking the responsibility so that no generation should migrate to look for better life, while we can make that happen back home.
We love Chatnite Africa.
And this is where we wrap up the edition of this week. That has been Mr. Capo Daniel. Thank you again, Dan, for coming to take my questions here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Divine, and bye-bye. And
I appreciate you. We'll see you some other time, sir. Thank you.
Ciao.
And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscription button and notification bell so that the contents we've lined up, once we come, you get notification, you get notified. You can also go to Play Store for those of you who have the Android phone, and go to Play Store and download, search Chatnite Africa and download the app. Once you hit the app, you get to all our social media handles. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how we wrap up the edition of this week. My name is Divine Nchamukong. I want to thank all of the people who contribute towards the construction of this beautiful platform. And if you want one like this, contact me. I'll hook you up with my friend, Dr. Elo. He's here in Virginia in the Washington District metropolitan area. Dr. Elo is the guy who has designed the architect of this platform. My right-hand man, Mr. Roger Full, phenomenal. That's my tech support chief, phenomenal. We also have the director of transmission, Mr. Mumbalingwa in Chicago. All of these people pull together so that you get the quality of broadcast that you see. Merci à tout le monde. Je vous aime, mais il faut que je parte. I love all of you, but I must go. All good things have an end. Goodbye for now, and I'll see you again.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming. Coming to get down. I'm coming. I'm coming. Coming to dance. To dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna party. Party hardy. We're gonna boogie. Boogie woogie. And when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready. I'm coming. I'm coming back. I'm coming.